Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile video. Today's video is a little bit sad for me. I'm kind of being sarcastic, but the reason that it's a little sad for me is because the cat's out of the bag. King Piccolo is still a very good deck, and I didn't think I'd be bringing you guys this profile so early. I was actually thinking about taking this as a surprise pick to the Philadelphia Too Many Games PPG event coming up at the end of the month. But the deck did manage to top Origins this past weekend, and it's no surprise that a player like Michael Carrick was able to figure out that the deck is still very good. Pretty much as soon as after the ban list, I was talking to my teammates, and I said to them, King Piccolo is obviously nerfed. There's no question about it, but the core of the deck, the heart of the deck is still intact, and that is just, this is the deck that free plays the most battle cards, plays the most battle cards for the least amount of energy. So while there is a bit of hit to the consistency, to the hand size, the deck is still very powerful as an aggressive role in this meta, because as we've been seeing in many of the top cuts that I've been covering, there's not been too many crazy aggressive decks. But I think King Piccolo is still really good. So I'm going to go with you guys through my new updated profile. I'll also show you guys my side deck that I've been playing. I've been playing this at locals, so I'll share that with you guys today. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are always many ways down in the description where you can help do so. But today, guys, if you want to buy any cards that you see in today's video, feel free to use my link in the description to TCG Player, and we will start getting into this. Cool thing is, though, whenever a deck gets hit that's very powerful, a lot of people, get upset because the deck they invested in is now hit. They have to invest in other cards. But nice thing is that if you always had a King Piccolo deck for several formats, the deck is still very viable, guys. I would still consider it a very strong deck. I'm not even go through the leader because at this point, the thing's been around for almost 2 years, or maybe a year and a half, whatever. So you guys should know what it is by now. But anyways, let's get right into the main deck, not waste anyone's time. So we have 4 copies of the OG one-drop Dragon Ball Obsession. This has gotten bumped up to 4 from my previous list because now that we don't have Piano, you really do want this as your turn 1 play. And I'm also playing 2 copies of Yearning for Youth. So you can think of this as a Piano replacement, but not really. You just play it because Piano's gone. It's another Namekian name for your leader to put into your life because we want to make sure we have an ample number of those. But also, it is another evolve target for King Piccolo Time to Fight, so that's good. The only important thing is that you play him and he draws a card. The pay 2 energy activate main to gain critical, you're almost never gonna use. There's the weirdest scenarios where it's your last attack for game, cool, use it. Otherwise, it's never gonna come up. But yeah, I think 6 is fine. I just want to open up one of these turn 1. There's also another turn 1 play that's very acceptable in the deck that we'll get to later. So technically we have, I think it's 8 turn 1 plays in the deck, which is a very good number in my opinion. Then we have 4 copies of Time to Fight. Again, this was bumped up from 3 in my previous list. Without Piano, we are once again just bumping up numbers and things, but this is oftentimes a turn 2 play. Oftentimes you'll do one of these guys on turn 1, either Dragon Ball Obsession or Yearning for Youth, and then you'll go into King Piccolo Time to Fight on turn 2 if you don't have a Unison in hand to play on turn 2. And in a lot of matchups, it's actually better to play your Unison on 3 because you want to make sure your opponent is forced to hit your life a certain number of times. That's oftentimes going to be against the slower decks like SS4 Vegeta Ramp or just random blue, slow control decks, even sometimes yellow. You want to force them to hit your life a certain amount of times so that once you awaken, you put a card back into your life, but you're testing the oppositions are still alive. So kind of a trick that I picked up that I wanted to let you guys know about. But yeah, for our Unison lineup, we are playing 3 copies of the Mass Sand Unison and 1 copy of the Piccolo Jr. Crazy thing about this deck is that this card is still deck searchable. So even though it's at 1, if you do that play that I mentioned where this guy comes down on 2, you're able to just find this guy straight from the deck for turn 3. So it's still fairly consistent in the deck, but if you're looking to play your Unison on 2, I mean, any of these are still really good. I was trying 5 Unisons for a while. I was playing around with the 1 of this and 4 of this. But I think 4 total Unisons is fine. I mean, that's what we always used to play with. Playing 5 Unisons, technically you're more likely to see 1 by turn 2, but there's other cards that I wanted to play in the deck. So just sticking with the old, kind of faithful 4 Unisons, that seems fine for me. Then for our Demon Clan lineups, we of course have our 4 Symbols and our 4 Tambourines. This has not changed, of course, followed by our 1 Drum. Drum is just so good that, a lot of times we'll fetch him from the deck with either Time to Fight or Attack of the Demon Clan. But just getting into these cards, yes, obviously Symbol only works if you have the Piccolo Jr. Unison in play because he requires a Rejuvenate Unison to tuck a Demon Clan from the drop area and draw a card, and I believe that Piccolo Jr. is the only Rejuvenate Unison in the game. But this is still a 0 energy 15k attacker. That's really what you have to view it as, and it is still so good for that. Tambourine, it's very easy to tuck a unison under another unison if you have multiple copies of the Mass Sand unison, or you're just waiting till you have 3 face-up life in order for this guy to become a 20k dual attacker. These cards are still really, really good. And again, 0 energy, 15k. How many decks in this format can actually do that? Not many, to be honest. 3 copies of our Scion, still live with Mass Sand unison, so that's great. I mean, this hasn't really changed much at all. A big change that I have personally made to the deck, though, is I went up to 4 copies of First Step to Revival. This was for a few reasons. One of which is because it makes the deck more aggressive because you're just accessing more free play. You're able to combo with more Demon Clans out of your life and play them to the board, so that's great. And when I was playing this deck last format before the nerfs, there were a fair amount of these slower decks, like SS4 Vegeta is one that always comes to mind, where they're not going to focus my life, so my Testing the Ops won't be live, my super combos won't be live. So having the ability to bump this up now that we needed more Demon Clan and Namekian names in the deck has felt really good to me. And of course, the effect in the drop area to warp it, give any of your Demon Clans plus 5k is very, very strong. So this is a change that I have very much liked. There's a lot of times where I do want to hard open this on a turn 2 and make sure that I can put myself down to 5 life if I need to. And then, of course, we have the one new ruler. You're just going to play it, of course. And again, the fact that this is deck searchable is insane. I still really, really like 4 Raditz super combo, especially with the fact that I'm playing 4 copies of First Step to Revival. You can get to 4 life literally whenever you want. I've never had a problem where I wished this was a Piccolo super combo so that I could put it into my life. I just love the filter that Raditz offers. I think I'll just always continue to play Raditz in this deck. And then, of course, we have our 4 Yamchas, self-explanatory, not much to say about that. We have our 3 Vegeta Resolve Renewed, pretty much same thing. Just your answer to Floodgate cards, not really too much to talk about there. But it's pretty cool, though. This card actually answers a fair amount of strategies in the format. Like, if you play against GT, this actually hits a fair amount of their battle cards, so you can actually use it as like a defensive counterplay, sort of like it was meant to be used, but then, of course, it has the application against the Floodgates. And they have 1 copy of the GT Trio. This is a really cool card to include in the deck. It's another way to get a card under a unison for your Tambourine to be live, which is very, very nice. But besides that, it's just a boss monster. I have been using this against a fair amount of people. One thing I'm going to mention is that I don't play Vegeta SCR in this deck, so this is my most expensive play in the deck, and I'm only playing 1 because I don't feel a need to like clog the deck with it. It is technically a -1 from hand when you do tuck it, so I don't want to be doing that necessarily all the time, but for the one-off purpose, it is very good. The nice thing about the Mass Sand Unison as well is that it lets you look through your deck. You're never really going to dump a 1-drop sand in the drop area, but you get to look through your deck. You can see if this is in your life. You can see if this is in your deck, and then you kind of know where it is. And there's other cards you can check for as well, like your secret rare, how many super combos, all these other things. So you get full knowledge of your deck, and by the time you see that, you've seen all your life too, so you know where everything is, which is pretty cool. But yeah, one-of has been very good for me. I don't think I need to bump it up at all. 1 Champa, just, of course, you know, it's fine. 2 Attack the Demon Clans. So funny enough, this is a card that I tried bumping up to a full 4 playset once the hits to piano and the unison happened, because I was just kind of thinking of this as my other turn 1 play. You know, we had the 4 Dragon Ball Obsessions, the 2 Yearning to Youth, and then I was thinking you could play more of this and just be way more aggressive. It's a 1 energy 15k attacker at the end of the day, but I ended up making some room for some other things, cut it back down to 2, which is pretty much a ratio that most people have been playing for a long time, and it's still fine. I think this card is very good at 2. Again, it's getting you more attackers, and if you're going second, this is also a really good turn 1 play for being aggressive in particular, if you don't happen to hit any of your Dragon Ball Obsessions or Yearning to Youth. So, very good card. I like it a lot. And we're still running with a 4 of Testing the Opposition. This is quite possibly the best red deck to use this card because you can get yourself to 5 very consistently, once again, with 4 copies of First Step to Revival. That's very, very easy. And the last 2 cards in the main deck, for our black cards, we have 1 Pan. I still really like Pan SCR. I don't like SSB Vegeta. It's not bad by any means, don't get me wrong, but if you're going to play SSB Vegeta, you have to cut cards like this. You can't really play an Overwhelm like Scientist Fu. I think you have to play a lot more 0 energy stuff, but I figured I can still play a super powerful SCR for 0, so why not use my other energy on turn 4 or so to just play other battle cards, right? I still like the ideology of the GT Trio being the biggest and most expensive play in the deck. And then on my turn 4, 5, and so on, I can still dedicate energy to this, maybe stealing a card with this. There are a lot of times I actually play Pan and like steal an opponent's dual attacker or steal an opponent's blocker and stuff like that. So having the energy available to do all that stuff is really, really nice for me. I don't feel the need to play SSB Vegeta in this deck. But of course, if you want to do that, you might want to cut some of the cards that I mentioned. But that's the main deck, guys. We will go through the side deck when they grab that here. So this is what I've been playing with. It's not a perfect side deck by any means, but I think this does cover a fair amount of things in the meta. But there are some other cards that I would like to consider as well. But
yo, Dragon Ballers, quick break in the video to give a huge shout out to PPG, who is going above and beyond to make our organized play season the best that it can possibly be. I'm here on the PPG event management website. I'm going to link this down in the description. So all you have to do to sign up for any of these events is go down to that link. We have an event in Denver, which is for the Pro Play Tour organized season. Not only are you playing for an invite to the Pro Play Invitational, but you're also playing for $2,000 guaranteed. And if you want to, guys, there is also a Team War event in that same weekend, and Team War is one of the best formats to play. If you haven't played a tournament with your friends, you absolutely have to do it. And then finally, an event that I know for sure that I'll be attending is the Too Many Games convention in Philadelphia. This is actually a regional for the regular Dragon Ball Super organized play season. So again, guys, super huge shout out to PPG. Secondly, this website is so awesomely laid out. All you have to do is go to this website. All these different tabs here will take you to the events you want to sign up for. I hope to see you guys there. Let's get back into the video.
All right, we have 3 Topo. So most of the decks right now that are playing answers to Floodgates, those answers don't actually hit Topo. Think about the Red Mirror match, for example. Vegeta Resolve Renewed only hits a battle card of 15k or less. Topo's a 20k. So in the Red Mirror, they would have to play some really sketchy stuff like Denial of Hope or something to be able to answer this. So this card actually sticks a lot of the time in the Red Mirror, and the Red Mirror is pretty much the main matchup you actually want this for, which is nice. Then we have 2 copies of King Vegeta Hidden Ambitions. This card has gotten a lot better. I talked about it in the recent side deck video, and you can even consider maining it in best of 1 tournaments, or of course sideboard best of 1, keep it in your sideboard. But yeah, this card's great against Dormant Potential because green is actually coming back into the meta kind of full swing. So this is great against that. And I would actually also probably bring this in against blue decks like SS4 Vegeta and other control blue decks, because they're going to want to oftentimes spark in their D-Magic if they have to tap out for other things. I've noticed that a lot. So card's very good. Then I'm running 3 copies of Core and Tower Secret Medicine. 3 is probably a lot. Probably going to cut down to 2 on this, but it's still very good for your aggressive matchups. It's still very good against the GT matchups, against the U7 matchup. It basically nullifies a lot of their small attackers, so you don't have to waste too many cards out of hand comboing. So I do like this card quite a bit. And it's also an answer to BMS, but I mean, we don't really have too much of a problem with BMS. The fact that Piccolo Jr. went to 1 does make answering BMS technically a little bit harder, but as long as you can establish any Unison and have Yamcha in hand, the next time they play any card, you get to Yamcha the BMS, which is fine. Then I'm playing 3 copies of Mai. Again, just want to be prepped for those blue control decks. I think that cards like this, the ones that punish Dimension Magic, are best suited in aggro decks because they're kind of under this crunch where if they don't have the extra energy to defend, they're going to really, really feel the pressure you're bringing on. So I think this in this type of deck makes perfect sense. And then we have 2 copies of Violent Rays. I think 2 is all you need. I think it's fine on the side deck. I mean, I could consider maining it, but I really just want this deck to be all gas now, because the thing about King Piccolo is that we have lost some steam going into the mid and late game. So I want my main deck to be all gas. I really only bring this in if I was going second against a deck where this is particularly good. So that's just kind of my thought process on it right now. And then finally, we have 2 copies of Realm of the Gods Ultra Instinct. This card is still an MVP against Shenron. It's actually very good as well against Reboot Cell because it gives you that removal for their 8-drop blocker. The thing about King Piccolo in regards to this is GT and U7 can both kill a 9-drop Sin and a Cell Reboot 8-drop without needing any external cards. Like, their main engines have cards that play minus power and get rid of them. King Piccolo doesn't really have that, so that's why we're teching this card on the sideboard, and this card is actually very clutch for me today. Against Cell Reboot at my locals. But anyways, guys, that's my up-to-date King Piccolo list. I may bring something very similar to this to Philly if I decide to actually play it. I'm still not sure yet, but let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.